Give us an idea of what's around you at this point. Is it just the two of you and a vast white landscape?
Yeah, so I mean, we were up at about 5,000 meters, and it was right up on the Tibetan border, or the Chinese border, and just kind of high, barren rock hills, similar to what you'd see in parts of Namibia, if you imagine it as a South African. Kind of Fish River Canyon, just much, much higher, dry, with some kind of grasses and things. So, but once the snow came, it was completely white, thick clouds. We couldn't really see much on that day. Yeah.
And just to give an idea of how thick it come in, so we were basically navigating by a river, and what used to be like, sort of three sort of streams going down, all that's left is like a tiny slip of river, and that's the only thing we could see. You couldn't even see the difference between the sky and the hill here. So this is like right next to you, and you actually couldn't see. So Luke says he was navigating, he sort of plays it down a bit, but he really had his work cut out for him.
And after 7 hours of walking and not quite getting to the place you wanted to, how were you feeling?
I think to me that was the scariest point. That's when we got to this bit, which was now the snow was up to our thighs, and I'd just been following in Luke's footsteps, and even barely just not having to break the snow myself, I was exhausted. So I couldn't imagine what he was feeling like. And we got to this bit where there was a cliff, and it was impassable, so there was no way of getting past, and it was getting dark. And we're looking around like, where do you camp in this tiny little slip of a valley with snow that's piling up right up to your waist? And that was when I was like, uh-oh, where have we found ourselves? We haven't got to our destination. Have we passed it? Why isn't the snow stopping? So at that point was, no panic still, but that's when I was probably very worried.
And just realizing that we needed to kind of stay warm, particularly when we were exhausted, and it was getting colder and colder. And just even before the storm had come in, by 7, 8 o'clock most nights, our water bottles were freezing solid in the tent. So as soon as the sun goes down, well, as it starts getting dark, the temperature really drops. So we knew we needed to we couldn't walk any further that day. We were physically exhausted. We just needed to kind of get a tent down, get warm, and get some food into us, basically.
Right in the deepest spot.
So how did you keep warm?
Well, so we then we used our cooking pots and things to dig out a kind of clearing in the snow, where we managed to pitch our tent, and we had a good 4-season tent, which I think is one of the things that saved our life. And then kind of got all our wet, frozen gear off outside the tent, really focusing on trying to keep the inside of the tent kind of dry at least, because you start getting snow and ice, and then it melts, and then all your gear gets wet. Your down sleeping bags and things are no longer warm once they're wet. So managed to get the tent up okay, and then just into our down sleeping bags, and then kind of had a good gas cooker, getting some warm food in us. Yeah.